It would be smart to do a risk assessment when you're entering a marriage. Unfortunately, in the West, and again, for all of you who are not clear and who are not familiar with the world, have not traveled as much, perhaps, you will know that marriage in the West, which are subject to Western divorce laws, is a completely different animal than, say, marriage in a place like Saudi Arabia, where all you have to do is tell a woman, I divorce you 3 times, and she's out on the street. It's a completely different story. When you are entering a marriage in the West, in the crazy marriage laws of countries like the United States and Canada and the other Western European countries that have adopted similar ridiculous one-sided laws, you need to do a risk assessment, just like you do with any business you're entering into. You take all the positives on one side and all the negatives on the other side, and you then make a decision based on the risks you're exposing yourself to, whether or not this is worthy of entering into. It's sad. It's really sad that it has come to this, but in the West, I'm sorry, it has come to this. Look at the examples out there on a daily basis. If you look at the celebrity divorces, and I say celebrities because those are the ones that are exposed. You know, I could tell you so many names that an average person would not recognize, yet the stories are the same. The amount of financial suffering is the same. I just learned about a person that was a German man that was discovered in the country of Thailand, in the island of Phuket. He had burned his own house down and killed himself, hung himself, and police had came to the conclusion that this was a suicide, and he had put all kinds of notes on the wall that after 21 months or something, he had discovered that his wife was having an affair and that she had planned to leave him and take all his money, and she never really loved him, and it was always money. Now, this is a special case, but not really. This is a special case because he is a Western older man from Germany who went to Thailand and married somebody 28 years younger than him, and as many foolish men do, and he discovered, surprise, surprise, that she was not really in love with him, but she was in love with the financial benefits that came with him. Some men, older men, decide to leave their better judgment and intelligence at the door and enter into the fantasy land of thinking that for some mysterious reason some woman 25-30 years their junior has fallen in love with their big beer gut and old alcoholic person for some mysterious unknown reason. They only discover the hard way that no, it was all about money, just like everywhere else. Back to the main story, you have to do a risk assessment. You know, if you have any assets worth losing. If you don't, then it doesn't matter. It's just going to be a heartache and all the other negative things that come with living with a woman, and you know, all the things that come with living with another person that is unpleasant. But if you have actually money to lose on top of that, you have to realize that when it comes to divorce, when it comes to the time when she says, I'm not happy for any reason, A to Z, nobody actually asks her for the reason. She just has to say, I'm not happy. You'll immediately be subject to some bizarre rules that you never thought of even existed, you know. Rules such as maintaining her lifestyle. Now, it doesn't matter that you married her when she was 29, 30 years old and she was a hairdresser and you were a corporate executive making $300,000, $500,000 a year, and you were only married for 3-4 years. The judge will decide her lifestyle as those 4 years that she was married to you, and not the other 29 that she was a hairdresser barely making rent. Somehow she's entitled to that lifestyle for the rest of her life, or until she marries again, and not the other lifestyle that she had before you. Tell me what part of that is fair. And if you have children with them, then forget it. Then you're done. You might as well just forget it and give up. Because even if you have the most expensively created prenuptial agreement. If you have children, that paper is worthless. You're responsible for those kids until they turn 18, and you're responsible for her also, payments for her. Often in cases where you're married, I think it's 12 years or something in the US, you are responsible for her until she dies or she remarries. And you know what? They just don't remarry. They get a series of boyfriends, whatever, but they just don't marry because they don't want to lose that gravy train. So a risk assessment will help you decide, is this worth it? Is this woman that I'm attracted to, that is so sweet to me, that is so agreeable to me, that is so nice and pleasant to me? Of course, it's an act in the beginning. Is it worth it that if she suddenly, for any reason, changes her mind, or she becomes not so sweet and agreeable and desirable and stops behaving the way she is now, wearing makeup and perfume and nail polish and looking her best every day and everything, if that happens and this thing falls apart, is it worth it for me to not only be faced with the emotional trauma of breaking up and throwing everything that we built together up in the air, but also be stuck with a very large bill for a foreseeable amount of time into the future, and having to move immediately out of your house, sometimes that night? If those risks are worth to you, then go right ahead. Again, I don't mean to paint a dark picture, and everything I'm telling you is from secondhand experience, because I have not been married myself, but I've had men, I see stories and I see personal friends that are crying. You know that many men commit suicide because it's such a difficult thing to go through. After a divorce, the combination of financial and emotional loss and the disappointment is just too much to bear, and they commit suicide. I hope it doesn't go that way for anyone listening to this video, or anyone else for that matter, but it does happen. If you've done a risk assessment, just like you do when you're entering a business, and it's worth it to you, then go for it. If you're not able to stand that heat, then I suggest you stay out of the kitchen. It's just not worth it, gentlemen. It is just not worth it. Unfortunately, again, the divorce laws of the West have made it that way. And unless they change it, this advice that I'm giving you will not change. Now, it is interesting to know that these divorce laws actually, while they look like they're actually helping women, they're actually hurting them more. First of all, they're very sexist. These divorce laws are basically telling that they're basically saying that we know this woman who we hold so highly and adhering to all these feminism beliefs and all that. What we really believe is that this woman cannot make it on her own in life. So you have to support her. So you see, these divorce laws are a direct insult to women. They're saying that we believe deep down inside that they cannot make it on their own after a divorce, so you have to support her. And what I wanted to say is that these divorce laws actually, in a way, end up hurting women more than they help them, because they deter a lot of men from getting married. They encourage a lot of men from going into prenuptial agreements and all that. And in the long run, it really doesn't help them, because after they're divorced, then they become 100 times less desirable. Because who wants a man that has an option, a man that is quality, a man that has no flaws and no divorces behind him and no kids to support and no emotional baggage? Why would he want to get a divorced woman with kids who's been through hell and is carrying the bitterness all over her body and person? Why would that man choose that woman over a younger woman who has not been married, who is lighter in weight, who does not have alcohol and drug and money problems, and doesn't have children, doesn't have exes in the background that can show up at any moment? Why would a quality man choose that? The only man who would choose that falls under two categories: someone who cannot have any better, someone who has a very low self-esteem because he has a very low quality life himself, and he knows deep down inside that he doesn't deserve any better, so he accepts anything he can get. He goes for a divorced woman with kids with an alcohol problem. He says, well, I can't have, nor do I deserve anything better. Or category number 2 are men that this woman happens to look very good. Okay, she might be in her mid-30s or early 40s, but she has a very nice body and she looks very good. So he just goes purely for the fun part. He says, well, I date her and I have fun with her for as long as it's fun. Then under no circumstances in this world am I going to marry her. I'll just, when she puts down her foot and gives the ultimatum, I just leave. So it's those 2 categories, nothing else. So as with anything else, think twice before you do it. If it makes sense to you, if it's worth the risk, based on what I've just told you, which is 100% truth, I haven't made up anything, then if it's worth it, then go right ahead. If not, save yourself a world of heartache. All the best.